Like, look at this. Like, this is, to me, very crispy. You're scared to vlog. I assure you that this camera is gonna change the game for you. Good morning, guys. He doesn't want to be on camera. Hey, everyone's leaving me. Hello. Oh, good morning. Okay, it's 7 a.m. and before we dive into the actual video, I want to show you at least some sample footage of what it looks like to vlog with my new vlogging gear. This is my favorite cream. Ooh, look at that bokeh. I gotta go to the gym in like 40 minutes. It is 7:15. Okay, I gotta go in like 45 minutes and I gotta change. So welcome to my closet. Time to change into some gym gear. Oh, here's a sneak peek of my vlog setup. And by the way, chapters exist. So if you wanna skip this vlog sample part, then be my guest. On the way to the gym. Strap up. I'm carrying so much stuff right now. Gonna go for a walk? Hi, babies. Let's go. Okay, we are walking the dog. Leon, say hi to the camera. Nugget's with us too, obviously. But this is what the camera looks like outside. I think it looks pretty good. Pretty crisp. All right, so the hair is hairing, the face is facing. I'm gonna go get changed and then I'm gonna film the video that you actually wanna watch, which is the title of this video. So what you've been watching so far in the last 2 minutes of this video was filmed on a new Sony ZV-E1, not to be mistaken with the Sony ZV-E10 with an 11mm ultra-wide Sony lens. And in today's video, I'm not only gonna walk you through this new vlogging setup that I have, but I'm also gonna explain all the other cameras that I've used in the past. We're talking about the Sony ZV-E10, we're talking about the Osmo Pocket 3, we're talking about the Sony ZV-1, and all the other accessories that I would recommend for vlogging. And so keep watching this video because I'm gonna break down my opinion on all of this gear that I have before I sell it, because not gonna lie, the setup that you're watching right now costs a pretty penny. And so to fund this new upgrade, I am selling a lot of my other gear. I will also put a disclaimer that I am not tech literate, all right? I film everything on intelligent auto. I don't know how to color grade. I don't know shutter speeds. All I know is I like my tech to be simple, plug and play, and look really nice. So if there's anything that I mention that you're like really interested in, I just recommend that you visit a tech bro or a tech sis and go down that rabbit hole. Hopefully this will just be an introduction of what I think is suitable for vlogging and what I like. So let's dive in. Okay, so right now I'm filming on my OG setup, which is the Sony ZV-E10 paired with my DJI Mic Mini. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that this is like pretty much where most of my videos have been filmed on the last 6 months. So I can just quickly show you my new camera. This is the Sony ZVE-1. Again, not to be mistaken with the Sony ZV-E10. I've got the Sony digital mic, and then this is my Ulanzi TT38 tripod. This is what it says right there, TT38. And why I like this tripod is, check this out. So there's a button here, right? Okay, if I click this button, look, pay attention. Ba-bam! Now it's a tripod. And I can just like set this on, here I'll show you. I can just like set it on any table and it's so helpful. And then I've got these little knobs right here, so I can like change the angle of the camera. I'm gonna show you right now. This little nub, I change that and I can just like, woo! Like, I can do whatever I want. I can even technically do vertical content on this. And then the cool thing is it's got like a quick release plate. So I just press this button, look at this, and then bam, camera comes off. Super easy to use. And then the cool thing about this tripod is it's got this little hinge thing, and these crazy content creators can actually like hook it onto the door and get these really cool shots. I'm too to do that, like I'm too scared to do that, so I haven't yet, but I will throw up B-roll of other people who are crazy enough to do that. The lens that I was primarily vlogging with is the 11mm ultra wide Sony lens. I've talked about this lens many times on my channel. It's the lens that I use when I want to open up space, specifically when I'm doing like tutorials or I just want you guys to see more of my room. It is 11mm, so it's a lot wider. Right now I'm filming on the kit lens of the Sony ZV-E10, so it's going to be a lot closer to my face. Now, in addition to the 11mm lens, which I already had, I actually bought another lens. So the lens that I ended up buying is this big, like humongous, like it doesn't look that big on camera, but it's like the size of my face almost. This is the 16 to 35mm GMaster 2 lens. And I went to ChatGPT and I was like, what the heck is a GMaster? And Chat was like, this is the Rolls Royce of Sony like lenses. And I was like, oh, okay, that explains why this lens costed more than the actual camera itself. So you might be wondering, Vanessa, why did you buy this lens? Well, I'm gonna explain it to you, but my pet peeve is when people talk about their cameras and they're not even filming with the actual camera. So let me swap this out, let me swap it to this lens, and then I will explain to you why I decided to upgrade. All right, so here she is. Let me just move. So it looks a little bit more aesthetic too, you know. Anyways, I need to tell you why I ended up getting this camera, this lens, because there's a whole story about it. Basically, what triggered me, because I was, again, perfectly happy with my Sony ZV-E10, never really considered like upgrading until I did this office video like a couple weeks ago. And this video, okay, so I was filming B-roll. And I had a vision for my office tour video. I wanted it to be crisp and aesthetic. I knew I didn't want to film it on my Osmo 3, like the Pocket 3, because the Pocket 3 is great, but the quality, it's not like Sony quality. It's not like crispy. Like, look at this. Like, this is, to me, very crispy. And so I used my ZV-E10, I put it on steady shot and I started filming B-roll. Tell me why my B-roll was so shaky. And I literally told my video editor, this is unacceptable, I'm gonna have to refilm it. So I ended up refilming all of my B-roll, not just on my Osmo Pocket 3, but also on my freaking iPhone. Like, tell me why my iPhone is more stable than my ZV-E10, which, like, to me is supposed to be the camera. And so that sent me down a spiral because I'm like, hey, like, this is not acceptable. And I do have a vision. So my second vision is I want to vlog more on this channel because I want to show more of my life and my journey building Super Boba. We are actually in the Super Boba room right now. And there is this vlogger that I follow, her name is My Fong. And I really like her footage. And so I went down the rabbit hole and I found this video that explained and broke down what gear she's using. And apparently the camera that she's using is the Sony ZV-E1, which is the camera that I ended up buying. And I was like, okay. I did a little bit more research and I found out a few things because some of you guys might be like, Vanessa, you literally could have just put your Sony ZV-E10 on a gimbal and it would have given you that like really nice smooth footage effect. I don't know about you, but when I look at like gimbals and stuff, it just seems so bulky. But let me explain, because when I went down the rabbit hole with the Sony ZV-E1, I found out that there is a mode called dynamic active stabilization that the Sony ZV-E10 does not have. Okay, so the Sony ZV-E1 has this feature where it's almost like there is a built-in gimbal in it, so your footage is gonna be super smooth. And so I got really excited about that, which is why I ended up getting the Sony ZV-E1. And clearly I am not a leader, I am a follower. I had to get my fam's whole setup. I was like, this girl is using this like huge ass lens in her content, and usually I'm very like hesitant of adding more bulk to my setup, but if my fam can do it, then so can I. So I ended up finding out that she has the GMaster 2. I was still kind of hesitant because again, the lens is more expensive than the camera. But then I saw this creator on TikTok who has the most crispiest content. And she revealed that not only does she have the Sony ZV-E1, she also has the 16 to 35 millimeter GMaster 2.
I'm currently filming on a Sony ZV-E1 with a 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8 GMaster lens.
I was like, oh my goodness. And so I started going down the rabbit hole on educating myself on the 16 to 35 GMaster 2. I'm gonna tell you right now, I had no idea what the difference was between a fixed lens and a zoom lens. So for example, this 11 millimeter lens is a fixed lens, meaning that it's not gonna be able to go any wider or any narrower than 11 millimeters. Whereas a zoom lens, I'm at 16 millimeters right now, but with just a little twist, I can go up to 35 millimeters. And this is just with the lens only. So I'm not zooming in using, the body of the camera. It's literally just the lens. And so I thought to myself, this could work for Super Boba, because for Super Boba, I don't only do talking head videos, I also do videos of me like mixing my drinks and doing all these things. So I was like, for the price of this lens, it's almost like I'm getting multiple lenses in one. And so I ordered the lens right away. And when the lens came to my home, oh my goodness, this is where the crazy story happens. Okay, so like any other consumer, I'm just so excited to get this lens. I get it in the mail, and then tell me why it's damaged and it doesn't even work. You see that, 16 millimeters? It doesn't go past 20 millimeters. And I was like, what the frick? And then upon closer inspection, Amazon didn't even send me the GMaster 2, it sent me the GMaster 1. So this lens was obviously used, and I was like, what the heck? This has never happened to me before. You know what? No big deal. I'll just issue a return and I'm gonna reorder it. And keep in mind, this lens in Canadian dollars, I think it was like $3,400 or something every time I ordered, with tax included and everything. So then I'm already down $3,400. I'm down another $3,400 because I'm ordering the lens again, because I really wanted to use this lens for my yapping video right here. Now, because it's Amazon, obviously I get the package the next day. I get the package, and this time it's sealed in plastic and it's got like this barcode sticker on it. So I'm just relieved because I'm like, okay, for sure this is gonna be brand spanking new. I tear off the plastic, open the box. Tell me why I got a deck of freaking Pokemon, like plastic Pokemon sleeves. I was shook to my core. There is literally no lens in this. What is this? Like, someone obviously scammed Amazon, stole the lens, packed it with Pokemon cards, and then went like the extra mile to seal it with plastic so no one would question it. And I'm the unfortunate person that ended up with this delivery. So I am just like so mad because this is the second time that I've ordered this lens off Amazon, and I really want this lens. So the third time around, I'm like, I don't trust Amazon, I have trust issues. I'm gonna go to my local London Drugs, which is a local retailer, and get the lens in person. So that's what I'm filming on right now, is the actual GMaster 2 in perfect condition. But the problem is now I'm stuck with these Pokemon cards and also this faulty lens. And keep in mind, I'm down like pretty much $7,000 for this. I'm scared to return it to Amazon because I don't want them to think I'm trying to scam them, because if they're gonna check the package, they're gonna be like, Vanessa's trying to scam us. Like, this is not the right lens, it's broken, it's damaged, it's used. And then also the obvious thing, which is this is literally a stack of plastic Pokemon sleeves. So then I contact Amazon customer support, and they're like, you need to file a police report in order for us to like guarantee that you're gonna get a refund. And I was like, bro, like, what is the police gonna do anything about this? Like, why do I have to spend the time to actually contact the police? Like, this makes no sense. And then upon like me thinking about it, maybe they just want to confirm that I'm not the scammer, because why would a scammer go to the police? So after like talking to them on customer support and obviously me being super frustrated, I was like, fine. So then the next day I call the police, like non-emergency line, And I explained the situation. Luckily, Leon recorded the call.
I mean, that becomes a them issue. Like, that's not a...
Trust me, I know.
It's not a police issue that they shipped out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. So then I draft up like a 6 to 8 page PDF for Amazon to explain every single thing. I have all of the receipts, all of like the proof and everything, even the recording of like me talking to the police. And then I get this email. And they're basically, nope, we can't help you unless we have the police report. So now I'm stuck with this box of Pokemon cards and this faulty lens. I'm pretty sure I can return this one, but this one is the sus one. I don't know what to do other than doing a chargeback on my card, but I wanted to share this crazy story with you guys because I have trust issues now. And so I think moving forward, if I'm ever gonna buy tech, like expensive tech, if I'm gonna do it on Amazon, first of all, I'm gonna record myself unboxing. But also beyond that, I think I'm just no longer gonna order like expensive tech off of Amazon, period. So be careful, guys, if you guys are ordering gear on Amazon, especially if it's really expensive, because the listing that I ordered these lenses from said Sony. But then when I looked in the fine print, it was fulfilled by a third party, not Sony directly. So just be careful and let me know in the comment section below like what you would do in my situation or if you've ever been in this situation, because I just feel so stupid. But anyways, crazy Amazon story aside, I really like this lens. Just a couple days ago, I filmed a lot of Super Boba content using this lens and it looked so crispy, so nice. However, I will say that this lens is totally not appropriate for vlogging. And I'll throw up some B-roll of what it looks like with the camera. It just looks ridiculously big. But anyways, from a vlogging standpoint, this is the reason why I'm still using my 11mm lens. So let me swap the lens so you can see the difference and why I think this lens is perfect for vlogging. Okay, so I'm filming on the 11mm lens. As you can see, you're like, what the heck? What is this fisheye? So here's the thing, the caveat is that the 11mm lens is not a full frame lens, meaning that like this part, I think, is like a smaller sensor. And because the ZVE-1, this camera that I'm filming on right now, is a full frame camera, this lens does not fit the frame. So you're gonna get this fisheye. But here's the thing, right now I'm filming with no steady shot, like no stabilization, no crop, no nothing. So let me show you what it looks like when I turn on dynamic active stabilization. So this is dynamic active stabilization on, and when you increase the stabilization, it's gonna crop in. So now you basically don't have the fisheye anymore because it's cropped out. And so let me show you some footage because earlier today I was outside testing all the different stabilization options on this camera with the 11mm lens so you can see the difference. So this is dynamic active stabilization on. And it's pretty smooth. Obviously, it's not an actual gimbal like the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, but I think it's acceptable. Like, I think it's good for vlogging. And if you want that crispy Sony look, I think this is perfect. Okay, this is with steady shot completely off, and you can see that there's that really big fisheye look with the 11mm lens because this lens doesn't actually fit a full frame camera, and with no steady shot on, there's not gonna be that crop. So this is what it's naturally gonna look like. This is standard steady shot, so standard stabilization, which you can get on the Sony ZV-E10 too. But I personally still don't think it's acceptable for vlogging. It's still a bit shaky in my opinion. Then as a level up, this is active steady shot, active stabilization. The Sony ZV-E10 also has this feature. It's a little bit smoother, but personally I still think it's a little bit shaky. And the crop goes in a little bit more, so you're gonna see less of that fisheye look. All right, so now I'm filming in dynamic active stabilization, which is the whole reason why I even got this camera, and as you can see, it crops in a lot. So now I no longer have that fisheye look. If I like move the camera around, you might see it a little bit, but with the crop, I think with the 11mm lens paired with the dynamic active stabilization crop, it's almost like the perfect focal length for vlogging. And I also get that smoothness that I really liked with my DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Now, obviously this is not a gimbal, but I think it's pretty acceptable for vlogging in my personal opinion, and I really like it. So I'm probably gonna repeat myself multiple times about this, but I really like this setup, especially with dynamic active stabilization turned on. Now with the 11mm lens, you are gonna see a little bit of that fisheye look still, but to get around that, you just have to zoom in on your actual camera body like this. and it will automatically crop it out. Now it is a bit annoying because you're gonna have to do this every time you hit record, and personally for me, I don't care enough about that fisheye look, so I don't do it personally, but there is a workaround. Now before I move on to talk about the other cameras I can recommend you, I wanna talk about the microphone that you're listening to right now. So this is the Sony ECM B1M, and I actually got this microphone because I went to the Sony Camera Camp event and I had this microphone on my camera. So I had my Sony ZV-E10 and then I had this like big Rode shotgun mic. And everyone was kind of like looking at me weird and they're like, why aren't you using the Sony mic? Because with the Sony mic, it like automatically connects to your Sony camera. You don't need any wires. You also don't need to charge it. It'll just automatically work. I was mind blown. And so immediately after Sony Camera Camp, I ended up ordering my own Sony microphone. So if you look at the Sony ECM B1M, there's 3 options in terms of audio direction. You can have the audio be super focused to you in the front. You can let in a little bit noise on the side, and then you can do a 360, so if you're behind the camera, it'll still pick up your voice. On the topic of audio, I wanna give you a little tip on how you can enhance your videos, and that is adding music. Earlier in this video, you saw this little vlog section, layered on some music, really set the tone. It really makes a big difference in terms of retaining your audience, and how I get my music is through Epidemic Sound, the sponsor of today's video. Epidemic Sound is the sound tracking platform for every creator. Their catalog has over 50,000 premium tracks and 200,000 sound effects from real artists. Early in my creator journey, I thought that I could get away with just ripping off royalty-free audio from YouTube, high school, or from college, and over time, of course, your ambitions, your interests might have changed. And no, it didn't work out that way because it was very low quality music, and I got so many complaints to the point where I just stopped using music in my videos for years, until I discovered Epidemic Sound and I realized that adding music is not so bad. And in fact, so many of the top creators layer music on top of their videos to increase retention. Personally, I really like Epidemic Sound because you can search by mood. So if I want to make you feel a certain type of way, I want to make you guys feel inspired, I can look for music like that. If I want you guys to vibe with me, to relax with me, I can also find music like that. On top of that, if there is a mainstream song that I like, but obviously I can't use because of copyright, I can actually search for similar songs on Epidemic Sound that I can use without any restriction. Meaning that all the songs and sound effects on Epidemic Sound are restriction free, so I'm not gonna get a copyright strike or lose monetization. We work way too hard on our YouTube videos to not get paid, okay? So if you want to elevate your videos using music, then click the link in my description box for a free 30-day trial to Epidemic Sound. I'll put the link in the description box and in the comment section below. So now let's talk about the Sony ZV-E10. This was my trusty camera up until 2 weeks ago when I betrayed it and upgraded to the Sony ZV-E1, but I still think that this is an amazing camera. I've used this camera for years, especially for my talking head videos. I'll throw up some footage so that you can see what it looks like. And let me tell you why I like this for most creators. The first one is that it's gonna give you a lot of versatility, meaning that you can always swap out the lens. So let's say your budget can only afford this camera and the kit lens, that's perfect. But let's say as you move on in your journey, you can afford a little bit more, then you can just change the lens and buy a new lens. So this is the 11mm one, and that would basically give you the same vlogging setup that you just saw. It's really the lens that's giving you that wide angle effect. Eventually, if you don't like this lens, you can again swap it out. For instance, I've used the Sigma 16mm lens to get that really nice bokeh, like signature YouTube look. So you can do a lot with this camera without necessarily buying a new camera, unlike the ZV-1, which is a fixed lens, and the Osmo Pocket 3, which is also a fixed lens. This camera can really grow with you as you evolve in your creator journey. Now, earlier in this video, I explained to you why I upgraded from the Sony ZV-E10 to the ZV-1, and it was mainly the shakiness that I didn't like, and I knew that this wasn't gonna be the perfect vlogging setup for me. However, you could make it work. You can just buy a gimbal and that would solve all your problems. For me personally, I'm just Delulu, okay? I would rather spend 3 times more and buy a new camera than get a gimbal tripod, but that's just me, okay? That doesn't have to be your reality. So you can really make this work. Another pro to the ZV-E10, I'm just gonna take this tripod off. Another pro to the Sony ZV-E10 is that it's very lightweight compared to the ZV-E1. The ZV-E1 is a little bit bigger, and I'll throw up some footage so you can tell the difference. I will say though, now that I have both of them, the ZV-E10 does feel a little bit more plasticky, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that it's gonna feel a lot more lightweight. So for a lot of people, it's gonna be easier to use. What I also like about the ZV-E10 and also the ZV-E1 is the big flip out screen. So you could also do vertical content with this, you can do horizontal content with this. This camera is going to be the most versatile, and yes, it may not be the cheapest camera out there on the market, but compared to other cameras, it is a pretty good price for what you're getting. Now for comparison's sake, this is the Sony ZV-E10 with the same 11mm lens, with the same Sony microphone and the same Ulanzi tripod. I do not have steady shot on right now, just so you guys can see what the 11mm lens looks like, but let me turn on active stabilization to show you how much it crops in. Now this is the exact same setup, except I have active stabilization on. As a reminder, the Sony ZV-E10 does not have dynamic active stabilization, and also compared to the Sony ZV-E1, this is not a full frame camera. It is an ASPC camera, meaning the sensor is smaller, so you're gonna get a little bit more crop. So I'm back on my Sony ZV-1. What you just saw was the Sony ZV-E10. I am using the same 11mm lens, the same microphone, same setup, so the only difference between the two footages is the camera body. Now I do have dynamic active stabilization turned on, which is not a feature that you can find on the Sony ZVE-10, but even with dynamic active stabilization, even with that crop, I still feel like I have a wide angle view. You can see my room better, you can see me better, whereas on the Sony ZVE-10 on active steady shot mode, it still crops a bit too much for my personal liking, and so I never really vlogged with the Sony ZVE-10 because I like that wide angled look, and if I want that wide angled look, then I would have to turn off stabilization, but then I would have really shaky footage, which is always why whenever I used my Sony ZVE-10, it was more for sit down videos or any type of stationary shots. Okay, we are switching locations because I personally was kind of getting sick sitting in the same spot the whole time. My batteries are dying. Ooh, which reminds me, I gotta tell you, this is my battery pack for my ZV-E1. Looks like this. And apparently this also charges your phone or something like that, but let me swap out the batteries and then we'll chat about the Osmo Pocket 3. Okay, we back at 100% battery. I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit. Let's talk about the Osmo Pocket 3. I would say that the Osmo Pocket 3 is like my first love. I owe my vlogging confidence to the Osmo Pocket 3. I would have not been able to ever fathom upgrading to the Sony ZV-E1, getting a GMaster 2 lens, and all of this crap if it weren't for the Osmo Pocket 3. The reason why is because this camera is so lightweight and so discreet. You would have never caught me dead, like holding such a big camera, vlogging around in public years ago, but this morning when I was filming the intro for this video, I did that. But that's because this guy like helped me with that. When I went traveling to Hong Kong, that was my first time vlogging in public so extensively, and I would not have been able to pull it off had it not been for this camera. And the reason why is because it's small, it fits in your purse, you can just hide it. No one ever questions it. Like, you don't even notice it there. And then with the creator combo, you basically get everything that you need. And the microphone, like I remember I was on a flight and I was just so embarrassed to even like talk while everyone was sleeping during that flight. But because I had the microphone, I just like whispered and it caught everything perfectly. The low light setting on this is perfect. In that same footage, it was actually so dark on that flight, but you can still see me because I turned the low light setting on. There's also so many other attachments and accessories for this camera that make it so fun. And I have a whole video walking through all the accessories that I have with this camera. Personally, I think that this camera is perfect if you are a lazy creator. And I don't say lazy in a bad way. Lazy also means efficient. Like, you don't want to deal with all of the headaches. You don't want to deal with all of the settings. You just want something that looks good, that's reliable, and that you can lean on. My friend Tiffany films exclusively on the Osmo Pocket 3. She even does short form content, so she does a lot of vertical content. I'm gonna throw up her account and all of her footage. It looks so good because not only on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 can you film in auto settings, but you can also film in D-Log, I think it's called, and color grade it on top. Another amazing thing about this too is that it's a gimbal. It's also going to face track you and follow you around. So it is perfect for vlogging. Because it's a gimbal, you're gonna get ultra smooth footage. Remember in the beginning of this video, I told you I had a vision for my office tour and my Sony ZV-E10 did not deliver, and I had to pull up my Osmo Pocket 3 and it carried. Like, all of my B-roll, almost all of my B-roll was filmed with the Osmo Pocket 3 because of the gimbal and the smooth effect. So you never really have to worry about anything. Now, even though I am raving about this camera, if this camera was perfect, then I wouldn't have needed to upgrade, right? So now I'm gonna talk about some of my gripes with this camera, and I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so some of my gripes about this camera is, number one, the screen is small, right? Like, for me, I think I just can't see properly. I don't know. I write big, I need to see big, like, everything just needs to be big for me, okay? That sounded very nasty. That was very nasty. Let me just reel it back in. Just know that I need a big screen. All right, back to being professional. So yes, the screen is a bit too small for my taste, but you can get around this because they have the Mimo app. You can link it up to your iPhone, or I use my iPad, and so I can already frame myself and see myself. It is an extra step, and sometimes I'm just too lazy to do that step, which is why with my new setup with the Sony ZV-E1, I just really like having that big screen. My second gripe with it, and I've already mentioned it in this video, is the quality is good, but it's not Sony good, okay? Sony good is crispy, but a lot of that is because you can also change out the lens with a mirrorless camera, or, you know, a full frame camera like the one I have right now. This, you're just stuck with this lens. Yes, you can technically use that little wide angle attachment, but it's not really gonna give you that much more, you know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna give you like maybe like a 20% improvement, maybe even like a 10% improvement, but it's not that wow factor. Like, throughout this video, I've been swapping my lenses and you can see a really big difference that a lens can make. And so that is another limitation. And then the third gripe that I have, and this is actually the reason why this camera is so loved, is the gimbal. It's a good thing because you're gonna get smooth footage, but what I notice is if I want a very specific angle, I'm almost like working against the gimbal. Like, I'm trying to get like a specific angle and I'm trying to like move against the gimbal, but the gimbal's like, nah, sis, like, I wanna go this way. And so it can be a little bit annoying, especially when I'm filming content for Super Boba, because I'm looking for a very specific pouring shot. I'm looking for a very specific angle. Whereas another camera, like the Sony cameras, I can just like set it down and get the exact angle that I want. At the same time though, the three things that I don't like about this camera, which is the small screen and not getting Sony level quality, and also, what's the third thing I don't like? The gimbal and it being kind of hard to maneuver sometimes. Like, I feel like that's worth it because, again, if it weren't for this camera, then I wouldn't have even gotten comfortable with vlogging. So if you are someone who is struggling with vlog, like you're scared to vlog or you're not consistent with it, I assure you that this camera is gonna change the game for you. Because, again, my bestie Tiff, I'm sure she won't be mad if I share this story, and I know she watches my videos, so Tiff, I love you! But my bestie, she was in a content rut for a while, and it wasn't until she got the Osmo Pocket where she started being consistent. Like, my bestie is consistent. Like, check out her page. She's on it. She's posting every week, and she credits a lot of it to the Osmo Pocket 3. So for her to go from like months of not really posting content or just being very inconsistent to all of a sudden posting every single day almost, because of the camera, I feel like that speaks volumes. My friend Wendy does the same thing. So the moment she got the Pocket 3, she also leveled up her podcast too. I was actually so inspired when I watched her podcast because it had so much like vlog integration into it. And it's so cool because the common thread among my friends who suddenly leveled up their content is because of the Osmo Pocket 3. So I hope that like me sharing that kind of motivates you, especially if you are someone who's going through a content rut. Like, there's so much like testimony or like testimonials around this camera that have turned people who just like are stuck on the are just like in their head with content, all of a sudden like busting out with like amazing, incredible vlog content and just content in general. So that's why, regardless of what I say about this camera, the things that I feel are missing and the reason why I upgraded, I think that this is the perfect camera for like any beginner creator. And I will not be selling this camera because I personally will still use this for traveling, because I just don't see myself lugging around such a big vlogging setup when I'm out and about, and I want to look cute and I don't want to have like a big bag with me. All right, now we are on the final stretch. Your girl is getting tired. It is 4:30 p.m. I've started filming since I've woken up, since there was a vlog portion to this video. So we are on the final stretch and I cannot wait for dinner. But we are on the Sony ZV-1 right now. This is my vlogging camera before I got the Osmo Pocket 3. This was also my talking head camera before I got the Sony ZVE-10. Now I'm gonna throw up some footage here and you be the judge. So this camera's not bad. I think that it's good if you just don't want the Osmo Pocket 3 and you want something that's almost in between a Pocket 3 and the Sony ZV-E10, I guess. Like, you want the compactness of the Pocket 3, but you also want that big screen. I think this is why I would get this camera, I guess. But for me, personally, I outgrew this camera. I outgrew this camera because, number one, I wanted to change the lens. This is a fixed lens. It's a point and shoot camera, which is gonna be really great for photos. So if you are a photo girly or a photo guy, this could be good for you because it's a point and shoot, really easy to snap photos. Personally, if you're gonna get a camera specifically for photos, I would go with a Fuji camera. I talked about it in my equipment gear video, but I love my Fuji camera. My Fuji camera takes the best photos, but I digress. This camera does overheat, so a lot of my talking head videos specifically, it would overheat pretty badly, and then I would have to stop filming and then like wait and then record again. It wasn't bad in the moment, but until I upgraded to the ZVE-10 and now the ZV-1, like I can now see a huge difference in terms of overheating. Another reason why I outgrew this camera, and I didn't really notice until I looked back at my old footage, is it doesn't perform as well under low light settings. Might be because it's a point and shoot, might be because it just doesn't have the same capabilities as like a mirrorless camera or a full frame camera. But I noticed, especially since I live in Canada, Vancouver, like the sun sets pretty early, especially in the winter time. So I was really struggling to get good footage, especially if I was filming past like 3 p.m. And so that's ultimately why I will be selling this camera. I actually haven't used this camera in years, so I even need a refresher on what this camera looks like. Okay, so a refresher was truly needed. This quality on the Sony ZV-1 is impressive. It is crispy. I like it. I tried hooking up my Sony ECM B1M, but it said that it was incompatible with this camera. Now, I read online that it should be, so maybe I just have an older model and it's not compatible, but it should be. But anyways, this is what the quality is gonna look like. Now, the downside of using a point and shoot camera like this one is the lens, like this is the lens that you're stuck with. So this is as far as it will go. I am using the Ulanzi tripod right now. Now you can zoom in using the body of the camera, but personally for me, I'm a wide lens girly. So I would probably do it to the max, like stay away from me length. But even so, for me, I feel like this is still too close. So this is something to be mindful of. I will say with the Osmo Pocket 3, I do feel like you're gonna see a little bit more. The lens is a bit wider. So that is something to consider. But that aside, this quality is pretty good and the camera is very light. All right, so here I am wrapping up this video on a whole different day. What is the final verdict? I'm gonna try to do this rapid fire. If you are an intermediate to advanced creator, you're looking to upgrade, I personally have really enjoyed my Sony ZV-E1. It's my first time owning a full frame camera and I do see the difference. Full frame cameras are gonna let a little bit more light in, so the quality is gonna be a bit higher, and I personally see that quality difference. At the same time, I've been using my trusty Sony ZV-E10 for years and I have nearly 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So It really depends on your budget, and if you have the budget, then I definitely think the ZVE1 is worth considering. But if you are someone who's like, I don't want the extra bulk, and you don't think that you're gonna be vlogging and you don't need that dynamic active stabilization or the AI tracking features that the Sony ZVE1 has, then the Sony ZVE-2 is going to be perfect, especially if you want something that's still future-proofed, but also be within your budget. Because with this camera, the Sony ZV-E10, you can swap the lens, you can add different microphones, you're still gonna be able to upgrade the camera without necessarily changing the entire body of the camera. Now, if you're telling me that you are a newer creator, or maybe you're someone that's struggling with consistency, hands down, I'm gonna recommend the Osmo Pocket 3, especially if you see yourself doing a lot of walking and talking videos, if you see yourself out and about, if you see yourself vlogging while traveling, this is going to be awesome for you. And even for me, even though I upgraded to the Sony ZVE-1 and I'm selling basically these two cameras, I'm still keeping my Osmo Pocket 3. So there is still a use case for me with this camera despite me having this ZVE-1 and all these other things. And the reason why is because this is just so travel friendly and so easy to use. Now, if you're telling me that you don't necessarily want the Osmo Pocket 3, you want something that has Sony level quality, you're gonna be using it for vlogging, you want it to be compact, then the ZV-1. At the same time, if you're telling me you think you're gonna see a career in being a creator and you're gonna be not just doing vlogs, but you're also gonna be doing a lot of sit-down videos, again, I think the Sony ZV-E10 is the right camera for you. And by the way, if you decide that you wanna do vlogging with this, then all you have to do is add a gimbal. Now, I also wanna do a final notable mention for microphones. So right now I'm using this ECM B1M, which is a digital mic just like this. Now, this is only good if you're exclusively using Sony cameras, but if you see yourself using different devices like your iPhone, your desktop computer, cameras that aren't Sony and are also Sony, then I personally think that the DJI Mic Mini is worth considering. I actually have two of them, which is perfect when you're filming content with someone else. This is also gonna be a lav mic, so if you have it connected to your shirt or wherever and you walk farther away from your camera, it's always going to pick up your voice. It became more important for me for my microphone to catch my voice anywhere I am in my room. Whereas a shotgun mic like this, it's gonna pick up everything else around you, which can also be really great for vlogging. That being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of me showing you all of the gear that I've used and also my new gear. And if you want more information about the gear that I have to film my YouTube videos and everything else, then make sure you check out this video next. As always, guys, I appreciate you and I will see you in this video.